Like just a few weeks ago in Youngstown, on the stage, Donald Trump said to JD Vance, all you do is kiss my ass to get my support. He said that. That's bad, because that means JD Vance is going to do whatever he wants. Mitch McConnell's given him $40 million. He's going to do what he wants. And Peter Thiel gave him $15 million. He's going to do what he wants. And here's the thing that's most troubling about this lack of courage, is that after Trump took JD Vance's dignity from him on the stage in Youngstown, JD Vance got back up on stage and said, started shaking his hand, taking pictures, saying, hey, aren't we having a great time here tonight? I don't know anybody I grew up with, I don't know anybody I went to high school with that would allow somebody to take their dignity like that and then get back up on stage. We need leaders who have courage to take on their own party. And I've proven that. And he was called an ass kisser by the former president.
So, Tim Ryan, great to see you again, man. You're actually leading off our series on who the heck is JD Vance. Because honestly, watching his performative version of politics, watching him on the debate stage, I'm not sure JD Vance even knows who JD Vance is. What was it like taking him on, and what can we learn from it?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That you know, he's a guy in search of his ambition and doesn't really care how he gets there, how he has to morph himself into it. So he thought the way ahead for affirmation and you know, kind of public support was to be against Trump, to be a never Trumper, to call him Adolf Hitler, all the things that a lot of other people say about him. And then when he found out that the ground had shifted a little bit, he wanted to run in Ohio, yada yada. You know, his tune changed. And so, you know, that's who he is. I mean, he is about his own personal ambition, and, you know, and he's using Trump to get there right now. Trump's just a vehicle for JD Vance. And, so you can see it throughout his, at least his public career for sure, that he's willing to do and say anything that's going to advance him.
We actually I had a phone call with his roommate at Yale Law School, the one he texted that message about Trump being America's Hitler. We're going to have him on the show soon.
Oh, God.
But I mean, he has insight, right? He lived with the guy.
Yeah.
And he described him as a method actor. He's like, someone as smart and accomplished as JD needs to create their own personal mythology to justify what they're doing. And they get into character, and then they become that character, and they convince themselves somehow that what they're doing isn't evil. And I'm wondering if Vance has reached that point where he's actually buying in to the logic he's created around his pivot to MAGA.
Yeah, I think, you know, and in some sense, it's really sad because there's probably a lot of trauma involved in that over the years. And he's told some of those stories. So it's, you know, we should have some level of compassion. But if you're going to take your own personal demons and turn them on society, then we all have to respond accordingly. And that's what we're doing. And so, yeah, I think that makes sense, because I've talked to guys out in Silicon Valley who like hung out with him, played cards with him, like really thought they knew him. And he was the, you know, Trump is America's Hitler. And, you know, he's, you know, crack cocaine for the political bloodstream, that kind of thing. That's what he said out there. And they all believed him. And then when he kind of disappeared and then showed back up being pro MAGA, they were like, holy shit, is that the same guy? And so I think there's a through line here. But the upside, I hope, Kenny, is that we can expose all this. That's really, you know, what I tried to do on the debate stage. I thought that moment, not to just talk about it, but, the reason I press so hard on that, is one, I love being able to say ass kisser in any forum I was at, just because I could get away with it. But I thought it really illustrated that one little scenario there illustrated what he was willing to swallow, the level of embarrassment and indignities that he was willing to tolerate to be up on the stage with the man. that you would never do, I would never do, no one you serve with, no one I played football with in high school or grew up with. You'd get in a fight with a guy like that did that to you. You wouldn't get up and shake their hand. So I think that one little story kind of illustrates what he's willing to do to move ahead.
Exactly. That captured a moment that was emblematic of his entire political career. The surrendering of his dignity to Trump didn't just happen on that stage. It's been a long, deliberate process. And he has thought it through and decided that power is more important than integrity. It's more important than dignity.
Yeah, for sure. And it's sad. I mean, there's no, everyone wants to advance their career. I don't care if you're in politics, you're in sales, you're, in coaching, like in military. Everyone is willing to make some personal sacrifice to maybe get the next job, bite your tongue maybe a little bit on the boss because you know what, you're going to get paid more, you're going to take care of your family, the benefits are better, or whatever the case may be. But there is a line that you just should not cross. And I think he's continued to cross it, where you say, like, look, I'm not going to do this to get the next job. I'm just not going to do it. It's too much. It's a bridge too far. I don't know if he has that in him.
Well, there's a difference between making those personal sacrifices, which we have all had to do for our families, for our careers, and sacrificing others, putting others on the altar of your own ambition.
Right.
I'm talking about JD Vance's attitude towards women. He is sacrificing an entire country, the country of Ukraine. It's where I'm wearing this shirt to make the point. Literally said, I could care less what happens to Ukraine, a country that is on the front lines of the defense of democracy in the world, for the world. He's willing to sacrifice not just his own integrity, but anyone who gets in the way of his ambition.
Yeah. And what's interesting is and this, I think there's like a political, rhetorical kind of strategic opening for us. They have sacrificed the value of freedom.
Yes.
I think when you look at, no exceptions for rape and incest, which is his personal position, national abortion ban, even Trump's. So like that is a freedom issue. You look at, he's saying women should not leave violent marriages. Like, really? I mean, like we all are for family values, but there's a line there that women should have the freedom to leave. You look. Can
I pause right there? I want to play this clip because you're not exaggerating. You're not making this up. He's literally on stage being interviewed and talks about the importance of women staying in abusive relationships. Here's the clip.
And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages. And I think.
Hi, everyone. It's Ken Harbaugh, and I need to take a short break here to ask all of you watching and listening for a quick favor. I am starting my own YouTube channel at team_Harbaugh, where I'll be posting videos regularly, including bonus content. It's a great place to find both Burn the Boats and Against All Enemies episodes, including the full archive. That's going to take a while to upload, but it's all going to live there. I could really use your help growing the channel. Please consider subscribing today. The link is in the show notes, or just search for team_Harbaugh on YouTube. I really appreciate the support. Everything we do here depends on you. Thanks so much. This episode of Burn the Boats is brought to you by Manukora Honey. This miracle of nature just fell into my lap at the perfect time. It's a rare super honey that is 100% natural and has some unique properties. Manukora makes Manuka honey, a single origin honey that comes from New Zealand, where the bees only feed on the nectar of the Manuka tea tree, making honey that is pure, rich, complex, with a creamier texture that is on a completely different level from the normal honey you find at the supermarket. You can use it as you would any other honey, but what puts the super in Manuka honey is it's rich in oxidants and prebiotics, 3 times more compared to regular honey. On top of that, it contains an antibacterial compound called MGO that can be found exclusively in Manuka honey. The bottom line is that these nutrients support your optimal immune and digestive health, and it's delicious. Manukora sent me a jar and squeeze bottle of their MGO 850 Plus Manuka honey, their best-selling honey. The 850 Plus honey has a creamy caramel texture that is unlike anything I've ever tried. Just grab a spoonful out of the jar and I put it in my favorite beverage, or I squeeze some out on toast or oatmeal. It's delicious. Manukora is savory, delicious, and truly the best honey I've had. If you head to manukora.com/boats, you can get $25 off their starter kit, which comes with the MGO 850 Plus Manuka honey, a free travel pack of honey sticks, a free wooden spoon, and also a free guidebook. It's the perfect gift for a loved one, no matter the season. I love the jar and squeeze bottle, but the extra pack of compostable honey sticks is perfect for whenever you're on the go. You can bring them with you when you're traveling or need a quick snack running errands, and they are the perfect energy boost if you're out for a run or at the gym, especially this time of year. That's manukora.com/boats to get $25 off your starter kit. This is just the ultimate honey. Indulge and try some honey with superpowers from Manukora. So, Tim, that's who JD Vance is. He will sacrifice anything and anyone for his own personal ambition. Finish the thought.
Yeah. I just think around the issues of freedom, and that's the same in Ukraine. Like, we were the country that would, try to preserve your own freedom to decide for yourself what kind of country you wanted to run. And does Ukraine have issues around corruption? Of course they did. And they're trying to clean it up. But that doesn't mean a dictator can come and intervene without those freedom-loving countries standing side by side with Ukraine. So, like, in each instance, they have sacrificed this idea of freedom. And I really think, like, politically, like Democrats, we've got to step into that void. We're for the freedom of choice for women. You talk about the issues around, legalization of marijuana. That's an issue of freedom. You want to talk about some of the investments that we make to allow free enterprise to thrive around infrastructure, the CHIPS bill. Like, this is all about really enhancing individual freedom around people, the right to organize, right? I mean, the Republicans have been notorious for, right to work states and busting unions. Like, what undergirds that legally is free association, the right to associate and then to start a union. So these issues of freedom are ours to grab in this election. And JD's like the poster child for anti-freedom and big government trying to get in your personal life, trying to tell you what to do.
You were able to really effectively land these hits in this critique of JD Vance during your campaign against him. He badly underperformed Trump in that race against you in Ohio. How do we do that nationally? How do we define JD Vance and tell the country who he is, given that he doesn't even know who he is?
Well, I say this as humbly as possible. Like, I think you just take what we have done and you replicate it across these swing states, because it's important for people to know this. We were up 3 points going into Labor Day. Literally had his negatives, like he had, I think, 34% approval or something like that. Like, we spent the summer just defining him and defining the MAGA movement here through JD Vance. And the problem was in Labor Day, Mitch McConnell came in with $40 million for him, and we didn't get anything from the Senate Majority PAC. So he had this huge cash advantage that we just could not survive over the next coming months. But I think we had the game plan. We had the strategy. We had them defined. We had them pinned. And I was calling down the DC, not this is about me, but I was like, we need 10, 15 million, and we can put this guy away. So my point is, take that to Michigan, take that to Pennsylvania. I think, within Sherrod Brown's race here in Ohio, take it to Wisconsin. Minnesota will blow the doors off. But this plays everywhere because it puts them in that extreme, out of touch. They want big government. I was just talking to somebody earlier, and they were like, wait a minute, JD Vance's grandma was going to run somebody over and then not tell, and then like kill him and not tell anybody about it. And like, we're like cheering about this. It's like, and that's like a hardcore Republican. They're like, I don't know what to even think about that. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there that will come our way. I
agree. And I found his speech really dark. I mean, it was masked in his, friendly persona. I'm hesitating because it might be unfair, but one of the the best memes out there about the bearded JD Vance now is that he looks like a racist Care Bear, right?
Yeah,
he's got that that soft appeal, but it is hiding something really, really dark. I rewatched your concession speech from the night you lost to him. And it was incredibly gracious. And yet you were ceding to a person who's an election denier. I mean, the contrast could not have been more clear to me about what's at stake, how Democrats need to run and conduct themselves versus what we're up against. I don't know that there's a question there.
Well, I think I think there's a point that, like, as you say that, we can't be like them. Like I don't like when the Democrats say, well, they get away with this and they get away with that. Well, then we're not making the argument good enough, because the answer is not do what they do. Like that creates terrible karma for the country. That puts us in a really bad spot. I think you elevate the vibration. You get a higher vibe going. That Obama and Clinton and Kennedy and Reagan, even, like, they had that higher vibe. So when you look, and that's why I think that we have an opportunity, in contrast to that dark week that they had, that the American people do not want to live in that darkness and that negativity for the next 4 years. They just don't. And so we just need to give them a high-minded, aspirational, inspirational, pragmatic approach that is tied to the American dream, the American spirit, the best that we have. And that comes through collaboration. I tell people in speeches all the time, like, the reason our species has survived this long isn't because we're the fastest, isn't because we're the strongest. Like, you go back hundreds of thousands of years, it's because we figured out how to cooperate with each other. We figured out how to talk to each other and listen to each other and get cues from each other. And that it was that collaboration that allowed us to survive and then eventually thrive and then eventually go to the moon and do all kinds of really cool shit. And then we hit these darker periods where everyone's on their own and screw the collaboration and get what you can and screw everybody else. And I think we've got to pop out of that. And I think we can, because it's so deep in our DNA of how we should conduct ourselves with each other and what the real strengths are. And those strengths are cooperation, collaboration. We celebrate it in sports all the time. We honor those teams that do it at a very, very high level. And those industries make a lot of money because people love to watch it. And we just got to give that to them in the political system.
Yeah. That is a classic Tim Ryan. I love talking to you. I leave inspired every time. You mentioned a couple of times in this brief conversation the idea of compassion, even for someone like JD Vance. And I just think that's a testament to your character, especially since it's a sentiment that will not be reciprocated.
No question about that.
Hats off, Tim. Come back anytime. And please help us figure out how to hold JD Vance accountable.
I'll be there.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.